The Paradox Midsummer Sale is live. Save up to 80% on Paradox games by following the link on screen or in the description.
There was a fantastic title used by the Antagonists, our Phrygia, which was Arch-Pirate as the leader of the pirate detachment.
Ave Imperator, and welcome to this preview, or I don't know what this is. It's a stream where we're going to talk about the features in patch 1.1 Pompey for Imperator Rome. Yes, so if you go to forum.paradoxplaza.com, you will find the full patch notes. I am Blondie, stream director of Paradox Interactive. Today I have Henrik, game designer, content designer, game designer on Imperator, and I have Peter, who's content designer. There we go. People change titles all the time, so I have no idea who anyone is anymore. Let's talk about Civil Wars. So Civil Wars have been reworked.
So I would say that there are two main differences. So before you got a civil war if you had a disloyal general who controlled enough troops. Now, however, we have something called power base, which is something every person in your entire country has. Doing different amounts, and this is being used in place of troops. So if you have enough people with enough disloyal people with a high power base, you have a problem basically. 27% in this case of your character's power base is disloyal, then you're gonna have a ticking civil war.
So 27% out of 161.
In this case, yes.
Alright, so that's Civil Wars. Let's go on to stability. Stability has gotten a big rework.
It has.
So before it has ranged, and as it has in other games, between -3 and +3. It has been redone into being a percentage, where 50% is a stable country, and if you have it at 100, then you're experiencing some kind of golden age almost. Over time, it will gravitate towards the center, whatever you do. And that means that most countries will be around 50 or so.
Okay.
One of the new effects of stability is also that it affects the threshold for when civil wars and rebellions happen. So if you're at low stability, it'll take less to get your country into trouble, basically.
So if you're at the brink of a civil war, you might want to try and get your stability up and then start working on your other things, because the way you gain stability has been changed as well, of course.
Yeah, so you'll be happy to hear that you can still stab pigs, but rather than give you an instant stability boost, this is a more sort of organic affair. So your stability will gradually grow over time until it reaches that sort of tipping point while the buff is active. Now you can do this as many times as you want, but each time you do it like this, it'll get more expensive. So you can't just invest everything into stability and it won't last forever.
Let's talk religion.
Yes, well, there are a couple of changes with religion. First of all religions now have specific bonuses, so you get different modifiers depending on what religion you follow. This province is Chaldean, and this tooltip here shows us that if your country was Chaldean, you would get growing civilization over time, for instance. Whereas my country is Hellenic, and then I get extra citizen happiness.
All right.
Now, a more perhaps significant change is that omens will now differ depending on your religion, and in some cases on your country.
They do, and some countries in extreme circumstances will be able to switch which omens they get through events and so forth. So if you're playing Ptolemaic Egypt, for example, and you choose to embrace the Serapis cult, which is one of their big dynamic historical events, you can get access to an entirely new set of omens.
Okay.
This is the Canaanite omens, and it's Carthage's version of them, because they are a bit different if you're over in Phoenicia. So unlike before, you now have stuff like ship damage done for your navies. You can reduce your tyranny. You can increase province loyalty here.
Very interesting.
Whereas if we switch over to Greece, it'll look more familiar, but there are some changes here as well. Like Tyche now gives mercenary maintenance reduction, cost reduction. Morian omens at start are Hindu, but since Moria are in a good position to switch to either Buddhism or to Jainism, they can actually switch their omens quite easily.
Because obviously no CB is the best CB.
So
you have a
no
no
casus
casus belli war cost.
That's actually really good. And then when you're one of those tribes, you're gonna want to be at war constantly. There's also a way for people to change their religions if they.
There is.
Yes. Already before, some countries could change their religions, but we now have decisions for all religions in the world, and the requirements will be the same basically. You need a majority of the pops that aren't slaves in your capital need to follow the new religion, and then you can always switch basically.
Let's talk about heritages.
Heritages are basically there are small differences between countries, making them a bit more special, you could say. It's in many parts of the world you don't have specific heritages for each country that we have made just for them, but they're based on where their capital is. But that means that there is now a difference between tags even within a region where they would otherwise be quite similar. So here's an example of someone who has their own.
Okay.
It comes with 1 penalty and 2 bonuses.
I don't think we're going to be able to show this off, but we have some, let's call them catastrophes, maybe? We have volcanoes and storms.
We could probably show a volcano eruption, actually.
This is Vesuvius, the volcano. There are about 10, 12 volcanoes in the world.
There will be 1 to 2 volcano eruptions per game is the idea.
Total?
Yes.
Not per volcano?
No, not per volcano.
Yeah.
So 80% of the pops will die, but also we'll get this.
Oh. All right.
It's it builds up.
It takes a moment to cook.
Yes.
Oh.
And the destruction of Pompey.
Yes.
Oh no. Poor Pompey.
And alongside this, we've also got weather effects like storms, sandstorms, snowstorms. And these all have gameplay effects. So if your fleet is caught in the middle of a sea storm, then you will take attrition damage.
Legitimacy, smaller thing, but is no longer an instant thing you.
No, it's very much like stability.
Okay.
Now, actually, you invest in this, and over time it will increase your legitimacy. You can stack these if you're willing to pay the increased cost. But over time, you will gain more legitimacy.
War exhaustion works the same, yeah.
Yes, we don't have any, so we can't really show it right now.
Yeah, nobody is at war.
But it's the same thing there. When you press the button, it increases the rate at which it goes down.
And then we have the anabasis unit ability for monarchies.
Hellenic monarchs used to do quite frequently. They would visit, go on long journeys, visiting all the outlying provinces in their kingdom or their empire, show their face, say, hi, I exist.
Go on a visit.
Nice to see you. Yeah. You know. So this is something unique to monarchies. If your ruler, your monarch, is a general, they can use the anabasis ability, which will increase local provincial loyalty by a little bit and a bit over time for a bit of a cost.
Yeah. A huge change to the game is dual rulers. So monarchies now have consorts, and aristocratic republics now have co-consuls.
Rome and certain other republic types will have access to this dual consulship mechanic. Now, here in Rome, now we're in Carthage.
Yeah.
So they've all got very bad co-consuls in this case. However,
so it seems, yeah.
If you had a consul or a suffet in this case that had a flaw in, for example, his martial stat wasn't very good, your co-suffet would use their martial stat instead of the martial of your suffet or your consul. Right. Your ruler popularity is averaged out between your suffet, your co-suffet. If you have a very corrupt co-suffet and suffet, then their corruption is actually added together, so you can have some pretty severe penalties.
That makes marriages really interesting.
Yeah, you now have these sort of strategic marriages as well.
Yeah, because it's like, all right, well, my martial is terrible. I'm gonna marry a hulk of a woman.
Another minor change is that the family of your consort will tend more to prefer the primary heir of your country.
So make sure you marry well. So let's take a moment to talk about what we've done to provinces and cities.
This is the updated province view. You can minimize the province part of the province view, and you can maximize it if you're only interested in the city bit, which is all down at the bottom. We've thought a bit about where we put information, so if you want to see only tactical information, here you go. It's all in one place. Your domestic information, your pops and your buildings, they've all been moved around a little bit to make things a little more logical. The flow of things works a bit better. You've got pie charts telling you what the pop distribution, the culture distribution and the religion distribution are within your province. The trade goods that you're importing, and most importantly, as far as I'm concerned, the incomes, the province and the tax, the commerce and the tax income on a province level. This is a bit of a new mechanic.
Okay.
You can upgrade the provinces in your empire. Now they last for 2 years, and you'll have a little bit of a malus to your population output while they're building, but once they're finished, you get a permanent increase to whichever stat you so choose.
So this is more ways to spend the power you have and sort of make tactical decisions about...
Yeah, exactly. You're building up the sort of the core provinces of your empire.
You can now set what unit types your clan retinues will be.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. You can pick here what units your clan leaders should put in their retinues.
Please, gentlemen, inform me. What are these things?
So, for each of the government types, and that's tribal, republic, and monarchy, there are a set of different, or in some cases shared, government interactions that you can perform for a cost, usually power, sometimes other things. In the case of this one, we've got the War Council, and this is something that is available to monarchies and to tribes.
Okay.
And you will get this event pop up when you use it. You won't be able to use it again for another 10 years, so it's more of a time opportunity cost than it is an actual cost.
All right.
And this summons your military advisors who are going to debate a little bit. You can read the event text. It's dynamic, so there's a lot of variation to it. And you'll be able to choose between a claim on a neighbouring province, the entire province, and side with whichever of your advisors think that this is a great idea. So they'll present you with some options, and you can get a free claim on things. So if you don't keep your officers happy, then they are going to start performing worse. Not only that, but as we discussed earlier, they will have power base, so you need to keep them happy. You can assemble raiding parties. This will give you a bit of enslavement efficiency. Third one, hold game. So this is available for monarchies as well.
And the last
one. So this one is this is related to the centralization feature for tribes.
Okay.
While it's really easy to over time get your centralization up, so you can become a republic or a monarchy, it was quite difficult actually to go the other way. Oaths of allegiance, this was if you want people to support your primary heir and they didn't, you have to go through each one and say demand and make them support your primary heir by demanding it. You can still do that if you want to address these individually, but if you have loads of people that aren't supporting you and you think, all right, I want a blanket action that can just do it all, then you can use demand oaths of allegiance.
Patronize the arts.
Absolutely, this is something that the Hellenistic monarchies, for example, were famous for doing, the Library of Alexandria and so forth. It gives you a bit of primary culture happiness, and all the cities in your empire will start growing in civilization a little bit faster.
I think we'll leave the republics for people to find out on their own. So the navy has been reworked in many different ways.
There was a great variety in both ship types and how they were used throughout the Mediterranean, especially near the start of the era we start in, where these huge Hellenistic kingdoms would build bigger and bigger ships that they had all kinds of uses for. Some of the biggest ships, it has been theorized, were used in sieges to basically take over fortified ports, which is now something you can do in the game with unit abilities. If you build the biggest ships that require military traditions, you can now take over port provinces or create breaches in ongoing sieges with them. There are now 6 different ships in 3 categories, so you have lights, mediums and heavy ships. In a way, a bit like on land, ships would normally form a line of battle in this period, where you then try to break through the other people's lines or even flank them. Different ships could have different roles in this, basically, just like we have on land. We also have military tactics, just like on land, making your composition matter. They use sea creatures.
Alright, so another thing we've added is Naval Range. You no longer can go anywhere in the world at any point.
Well, you can, but you'll
sure, but
run into problems.
You will suffer. But this means there's actually a lot more purpose to having these sort of enclave ports. Setting up trading ports and little bastions along the way if you want to go long distance.
So pirates are no longer just a nuisance.
Before, they used to spawn outside of ports and just basically stick around there, blocking you from accessing the sea and blockading your port. Now they exist at start in various places, like here, and this fleet can be hired like a mercenary, because that was something that happened a lot at the time. The Hellenistic kingdoms would hire pirates to supplement their own navies. There was a fantastic title used by the Antagonists, our Phrygia, which was Arch-Pirate as the leader of the pirate detachment. Now, if they're not hired and out of work for 2 years, they will go on a raid.
Yes. There we go, So you can choose to sort of just turn the other cheek, look the other direction, and open one of your ports to the pirates. And this will create, if you embrace this law, a pirate haven in one of your port cities, and it'll give you, it'll give you some pretty good bonuses to your ports.
Absolutely.
You're getting a bit of commerce income, you're getting a bit of mercenary maintenance.
Yes, that's actually naval mercenary maintenance there.
And this will create pirates, and you can hire these pirates if you want to, but so can other people.
We've fixed province capitals. They used to be able to move around all the time, and should now be static unless lost in a war. But then we've also made some changes to our regular capital, so we can now relocate our capital.
It costs a lot. This is variable, so if you're trying to move into a city that has very low population compared to current capital, it'll cost you a lot more. You also need to have dominant culture the same as your national culture, and dominant religion the same as your national religion.
Say that I've gone on a conquering spree, and I'm like, this piece of land here in Cyprus, I don't want it. What can I do with that then?
Why would you not want Cyprus, Blondie?
It's more of a summer home. I don't want to care for it right now.
Put somebody else in charge.
Yeah.
Somebody else's problem.
There we have Cyprus.
So we have a tool for this.
So we can release Cyprus as a subject.
So this releases them as a client state, which is probably the best vassal type that you have available to you.
With perfect. A pirate heritage as well.
Wow.
Their capital is in a pirate haven, so... Yes.
And you can't exceed your diplomatic relations level with these subjects, so you can't just release and release and release until you have a little mini HRE going on.
There we go. Oh, disgusting.
We have a dust
desert storm here.
So I never actually figured out what holdings was in on release.
Holdings are like the personal estates of your characters. And they existed before as well, and mostly generals had them and earned them in conquest. But now holdings, they are still something a character owns, and he can actually own more than one. How many depends primarily on his finesse, but there can also be more than one holding in the same city, because it's based on how many slaves exist in that city. Holdings also contribute to your power base.
There's a whole variety of different schemes that these high power-based characters will engage in, including investing in opportunities, getting himself a bit more wealth, making rivals, making friends, and it will all display here, so you've got a more visual indicator of exactly what your characters are doing. And a lot of this was going on before, but it was quite hidden, so we thought, well, actually we want to display this a bit more.
If say that I'm playing Egypt and I want to know how is the Seleucid Empire doing? What could I use?
Oh, you mean the
yes,
the new ledger?
The new ledger.
Yes, a very requested feature.
Hopefully people will enjoy it. These are only some of the changes we've gone through today. There are plenty more, and if you go to forum.paradoxplaza.com, you will be able to find the full list of changes in the patch notes. Now, the last thing that we should say is that, Peter, when can people play this for themselves?
The beta patch is available now.
And it will be released fully when we feel it's ready to release. And I want to thank you too for coming here and showing me what's what with this new patch. You know it well better than I do. And we will be back at some point. Maybe there will be a dev clash at some point this year. we'll see. Until then, thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you. Goodbye.